welcome back to the SLT podcast. We still have Hussain from Cape Mentors. We're going to do our question section, but it's going to be slightly different. We've altered it a bit. Whereas normally we may take parent questions, we kind of put questions in our group. So like at More Education, we've got like this parent group where we put questions and we ask for support, and it's really good. But we've altered it a bit where we've created some scenarios, kind of speaking some SLT, speaking. Usually my co-host is here, Rena. She's not here today, but like scenarios we've been in, and like it'd be good to know.
Yeah.
Being that you're almost at Cape Mentors, the last stop.
Yeah.
To a wilderness, because a lot of people don't know. So I'm an assistant head at a Peru, and we take permanent exclusion very seriously. I can only remember I've been there 5 years. I can only remember like proper maybe 2 or 3. I remember one where I had to confront the head teacher. Like I had to, and it's almost like she was waiting for me. She was like the knock at the door, and she was like, "It's you, isn't it?" She was like, "I knew you were gonna come in here." I said, "I had to."
Yeah.
And we discussed it, and she said, and I remember her saying, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble for saying this on camera. She said that she hadn't slept.
Yeah.
She had been up to make this decision. But it's almost sometimes your hands are tied.
Yeah.
But I do think in another interview with a head teacher, he was saying one of the things that if he could change in his career would be to go back earlier into his career and look over some of those decisions.
Yeah.
Where maybe he could have looked at it differently. Mentors. There were alternatives. So I just want to kind of look at a few scenarios that we've looked at as school leaders and just kind of discuss. So we've got a year 8 student. He's had 3 fixed-term exclusions. They're around defiance and aggression and behaviour towards staff. The students, academically, it's well below age-expected levels. There's no EHCP in place. From your experience, what would be kind of the first steps that you would take to manage his behaviour and try and reintegrate him back into maybe school in that way?
It's tricky. I think there are certain things that I'd do that I'll touch upon first, but I don't necessarily think there'll be a immediate translation to now behaviour is going to improve.
Yeah.
So I mean, the reality is it's going to be a long journey, and it's being willing to ride it, work through it, and support. Another bit I'd say is links to, if you haven't read, I know Curtis Worrell at Class 13 has done a lot of work, and I think a lot of these.
It's Curtis Worrell,
Class 13. I like their take on a lot of, I guess the things we'll talk about today in exclusion. In the, it's an absurd concept if you look at it, like of Cape shouldn't exist. My charity shouldn't exist. We should be investing more in schools so that every kid is here, and we're going to deal with things as they are. This kid, like for kids alone, like that behavior is just. Schools are here to serve the communities in which they are. So if you have a young person that is doing X, Y, and Z, the reality is, in my belief, it's your responsibility as a school. It's how schools should be supported. They don't got the resources now, but I think the school should have the resources that this is us. You're with us, and we're gonna build from wherever your starting points are. So I think I'd say why I say Curtis. I think he often, I like how his charity Class 13 has looked at it. I think they unpick of just step back and think about what we're saying. And the reality is the problem's bigger, and we're not going to fix it. First thing I'd say is saying low educational attainment and falling behind is working out with, I know the system can change. I remember lots of rumours about EHCPs, but working out, is there a need and what support, what additional support could be got through that in terms of then funding to meet that need. Okay. Additionally, knowing that it's going to be a long game. This isn't going to be something that we do. It's having that patience and dealing with it. And the last one is consistency and working like a humanized approach into how we deal with this. So, like words, like I'm always hesitant around words like aggression or like without the context of just let's say what happened. He has stood up in someone's face. All right, but in different communities, I would like I could stand up sometimes. Not aggressive. It's like defending myself. And not necessarily. It's different ways to read how the lens through which we interpret behavior. Also is going to have an impact on that young person. So it's different saying, actually, I want my personal space, and when you come up into it, I don't feel comfortable.
Yes.
Is fine. I'm not saying let them do whatever, but I'm very sensitive to how we're often over described as aggressive or dangerous. And the reality is we have different social conventions in how we're not saying black people, but I'm saying inner London. I remember growing up, I could argue with someone, shout with them, and 10 minutes later we're brethren again.
We're cool,
And it's just knowing that, not to justify it, say actually it's not healthy way to communicate by shouting and deal with that. So I think relabeling things and dealing with behaviour and not person. And what I mean by that is saying defiant and aggressive behaviour. Say, often I've noticed, I don't know, Steve, when you're not pleased with X, you might come into my space, and just being very specific in how we're describing things, I think is another key. So I think it'll be twofold of try and address those needs and work out what support can be put in place, and then step back and think, all right, how can we clearly describe the behaviour and manage it, and also work out some consistent responses, which I think is why it's tricky in secondary school. There's such an array of staff that also deal with things in a different way. You might have a few people pick up and stuff, and I've noticed that in my practice because I pick up on a lot. And sometimes the kids find me a lot because they'll be like, I don't feel don't talk like that, please, in front of me because I don't feel comfortable with that. Or kids' hands in trousers. I often pick up on that and say, my friend, I'm not. There's only so much I can do, but I don't feel comfortable, and I'm not trying to pick on you. It might seem normal, but I'm trying to teach you that you're gonna grow older. It's not a positive look. If your hands are in your trousers, it's not. But so and so you just. And I said, I can't start this session until that's done. If you don't want to, that's fine. But the variance in me and other staff not addressing it means that I often get the lash out of shut up and da. So trying to build that consistency and identifying the behaviors. This is how all of us are going to deal with it.
Yeah.
If this, and it's important, all of us do it this way. Otherwise, the one person that does is going to get the barrage of insults, and everyone else is actually. It's not the kid; it's the adults that are making it worse for that member of staff.
No, I agree. I'm gonna steal something that you said in a previous pod where you spoke about kind of taking your ego out of it as well. When you listen to a lot of that, like defiance and aggressive behaviour towards staff as well, oftentimes that may be how you interpret it, or how you're feeling your feelings. And also, when I read that, it makes me think of kind of speech and language communication issues instantaneously. Somebody who struggles to express themselves and communicate effectively, and aggression is the go-to. And oftentimes that's because their speech and language communication is poor. And I'm often told that by my wife. I interpret things as like, why did you say that? What are you trying to say about me? Like, and once I kind of take my feelings, my ego out of it, and I listen. Brilliant.
And even me as an adult, I often get through, like I have therapy once a week now, and knowing certain things that trigger me and my response. Have my communication needs. If I feel someone's done me something, I might just shut down. And I did at school, but now it could be seen as defiant. Like I'm not talking to you no more. Like I feel a way, but everyone has that kind of trying to unpick the nuance around it and just label it. That's not label, but describe this thing is the thing, not you are defiant or you are this.
Okay, all right. Scenario 2. A year 10 student has been on the SEN register. So I repeat that, it's been on the register, but teachers are increasingly reporting extreme difficulty with focus, sudden outbursts, refusal to engage in certain subjects. Parents are resistant to the idea of a full assessment, and leaders are trying to prevent exclusion. How would you work with kind of family and staff to support the students' education?
Did you say the family are hesitant about assessment?
Yeah. So in essence, it sounds like they're on the register, but they haven't received the full EHCP, and the parents ain't on it.
I think that's a lot of where I think schools just need more investment to have like a diverse range of staff with different skills. Is often, I understand why families would be hesitant to have professionals intervening and trying to dig in. You need to understand the cultural context of what's gone on for our communities. And now, right, this is a piece of work in it, and explaining and building that relationship. Because I can't, from my experience, anytime any of the families I've worked with, met any family that's against their child receiving support that's going to benefit them. I've met many families that are skeptical about schools because they've had negative experience with schools, or skeptical about professionals because they've had negative experience about professionals. Yeah. So for me, the first bit is about building that over time again. Often if you want like quick fixes, but over time, developing and building that relationship with parents. And I guess practically that might mean inviting them in and not just to explain, talking to them in a positive way around, all right, this is what we're noticing. It's happening in class. How do you find, what would you, all right, what would you like? All right, if you want us to do this, these are the things we're going to need because this, and explaining the whole thing, because often people don't know what they don't know. So at the moment we get the average amount of funding, that means we can't go above and beyond our offer. So if you allow us to do X, Y, and explain it that way, so we're not trying to put labels in. We just, if we want to put the support of the things you want, and Mary's often say, I would like this, unless we'd have for us to work. This is a potential way, and I think something I've found through our work of being not even related, just having that. I go back to when I worked in the city. I didn't understand a lot of those cultural cues of people talking like, I don't know, skiing or what cheese they're having. I didn't know. I'm just cheese board and charcuterie board. But then when it comes to the working with our families, I can sit and be like, actually, I can jump in and I can just. There's not like it's not a conscious thing.
Yeah.
And it's not. I think growing up from where we do, you can. There's a familiarity and a comfortability that comes from having a more diverse range. And not to say that people not from our backgrounds can't. I think it just might be one of the few times where being from ours is advantageous in that sense.
100%. No, and I love the fact that you keep reiterating there are no short-term fixes.
Yeah. It's a long game.
There aren't any short-term fixes, and if I was going to add my 2 pence as a school leader, I think the importance of building those relationships with those parents will yield dividends in the long run.
Yeah.
And you've got to make that as almost as part of your school action plan, where it's embedded, where not only are you, I know student voice is really important, but beyond student voice, the voice of the parents and connecting with those stakeholders and making sure you're building those relationships and kind of feeding back off of those, because they will yield in the long run, where sometimes it might not even be you, it might be another parent who turns around and like, because parents talk and it's like, that school where they're like, actually, you know what? I've worked with that school, so on and so forth. If you speak to John or I don't know, Tamika or somebody, they'll be able to. I've worked with, and you can turn around and say, because personal recommendation is the best recommendation.
Yeah.
And if it's somebody else, 100%. Yeah, no, brilliant. All right, our final scenario is we have a year 9 student, good attendance, but slipping behaviour. So repeatedly being caught doing low-level stuff and kind of, like niggly instigating peer group, antisocial behaviour outside school. So there's been a few bits and pieces where like stealing from local shops. There's been an issue with boss man, so on and so forth. The home environment has become a bit unstable, but not to the threshold of social services intervention. Yeah. What would you do in this scenario to kind of break the cycle before? So this is, you're starting to see. Are you with me? So at Cape Mentors, before we're now, there haven't been any fixed term exclusions yet, like some detention, some so on and so forth. But you're seeing where this is heading.
Again, I feel like it's a long game, and I guess if it's that often, what we do now, some partnerships in schools where it's working to like work further upstream.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is kids in mainstream school who the schools might be getting worried about. I actually find these the most difficult because.
Oh, so I picked a good scenario.
It's good. I think it requires a school's buy-in and knowing that it's the long game and around it. So what we do as a school in Safra at the moment, and a lot is about making sure these kids are seen in your sessions. What I mean by that is like building those positive engagements and having that positive reference point in school, celebrating them where possible, and then when they'll often bring things to you and discuss, and you can, once that relationship built, challenge them in a polite way. Actually, how could we have done that? But then also knowing like it's not back to that Curtis Worrell and the class 14 stuff, is that we're not the solution for it. I think the issue with, I guess, this school exclusion thing is the fact that it exists.
Yeah.
That this is like we're preventing something. Like it shouldn't be an option, in my opinion, unless we reframe it. I think school exclusion, if I'm being real, should be an option if we're going to look at the funding and say, you know what, each local authority is going to spend whatever it costs so that a pupil referral unit, alternate provision, whatever you want to call it, can mirror the offer that's at a mainstream school. Because the punishment for an exclusion should be then you're not in a mainstream school. It shouldn't be you get less GCSE. You shouldn't be have access to less GCSEs. Yeah. The punishment for exclusion is so inhumane, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just never ending. You've been kicked out of school. We know the percentages of kids who then go on to get those grades is this. So the reason that isn't because proves are bad is they have less money. So you might not have, if you were, I don't know, you love design and technology, if you love textiles, a pupil referring it can't mirror that. So I think we have to, if we're going to say this is what we're going to do, we have to say that's the punishment, so everything else has to be the same, and that is going to be a huge cost. And I'm fine if we're going to say that. Then it's a minor. Okay, it's not working here, but you know, to the school that offers you all the same. And I just say that in terms of the thing, I think it's in terms of that scenario, just to say we can try and put things in place that can potentially guide, but if home life is beginning to get more unstable, we're there a couple hours a day.
Yeah.
If we do a session, there's 24 hours in a day and 7 days in a week, and all that. There's only so much. I'd be a trillionaire if we do this, and then that's gonna go. And people often lose sight of that and think there's gonna be magic. I think just the positive reference point in trying to make school a more positive, build some more positive experience at school, and tying in with then the teachers, where it has gone with our school partnerships, is when the teachers value us and listen, are willing to hear us.
Yeah.
And then we say, actually, this is what, or you know what, that's happening. Can you let me know? I'm going to join that lesson and see what's going on and be a part of it.
Of all of those things that we kind of listed, was there anything that stood out to you that you'd wanna address first? Because
So what was there? The home life, the social care.
So you've already said it because that's the bits that you remember.
Yeah.
So I've said behaviour slipping, attendance is good, behaviour slipping, low level disruption, antisocial behaviour, and issues at home.
Yeah. The home thing, I think, is just tricky. That's back to like the society we live in and the challenges that are faced, and there's not much, I guess, we could input in terms of change that with the reality of the hours we've got in the day and the impact there. Behaviour slipping at school, I think that can be through like positive reinforcements and check-in points of having that checking out what happened this week. That's happened, and putting on like, we have often incentives, kids like doing trips. What's this big trip? So like with the kids in South at school, we did a big trip to like a trampoline park. But the boys we had in a group, so I'm not expecting perfection, but if something happens, we're gonna reflect on it in a mature manner and take accountability. And if something good happens, this is what we're doing, just tracking that. And then I think we saw a big improvement in their behaviour. That's probably not sustainable the whole time, but that was some of the things to kind of have someone that they're checking in with, because in secondary schools it's easy to get lost in the thousands of kids and not reflect. And then I think, what was it, attendance was good. Low, and then I guess could be, but this is where I think the challenge with schools, like things happen outside of school, is that stuff of like home, of like, I grew up where I was at, there was things to do. I had sick youth workers who were there and kept us busy and things to do. We're not some gazillion pound provision that can work out. Home lifestyle, we're going to do this, we're going to chase you up and make sure you're there after school. And schools can't. So it's how do we ensure society has these things? And that's why I link back again to Curtis's thing of stepping back and looking at what is the problem rather than these band-aid solutions.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah. I think, as you said, the home life, because it's so difficult now with such a myriad of different problems. Even that to kind of pin one down and say, let's start there.
And it requires such availability. Like I was saying, I'm finding it tough now with my own kids, and I in the balance of before I could be at home, before my kids, and something could pop up at 6 at a foster carer's house. When the kids are out, and I'll quickly run over and be like, and that's really the level of support that's often needed for those kids that doesn't exist. And I think it'll be around local authorities having funds to provide that kind of access, because
that kind of wrap
because it's really difficult, and knowing how you can sustain that and if it can be sustained.
Brilliant. All right, Hussein, thank you very much. I appreciate your candid, your very, very candid nature, because at the end of the day, these aren't quick fix. And oftentimes in schools we're like, all right, well, and I've heard it so many times. Let's get in a mentor. Let's get in a mentor to work with him for 6 to 12 weeks. And there should be a turnaround. Like, nah, it might.
We lose out on bits to those ones. So it is what it is. I'm not a good luck. I say go for it, man. If that can do it, I want it. They can mentor me too. I wouldn't mind
it's not as that straightforward. Yes, we'd like to be able to see some kind of impact. But it may take a bit longer. To really see the results you want. But listen, thank you very much. Again, it's wonderful having you on. We'll be in touch. And again, how can people contact you? What's the best way?
Website, www.capetm.com or info@capetm.com. Hit us up with an email. Yeah, probably best bet.
All right. Please remember, like, share, subscribe, share this in your personal networks. Have conversations around these questions. What did you like? What did you didn't like? Comment. And we'll see you on the next SLT podcast.
Thank you for having me, bro.
All right, man.
Bless.